Hi everyone and welcome back to another video from GenMedX. My name is Lydia and I'm a medical student at Magdalen College, Oxford, just finished with my first year, and today I'm going to give you some tips on section 1 of the BMATs. Before we get started, GenMedX is an award-winning organisation based in Oxford. They have tons of resources on their website, generationmedics.org.uk, for current and aspiring healthcare professionals. If you find this video helpful, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe and turn on post notifications so you don't miss a future one. So let's get started. Section 1 of the BMAT is the thinking skills section. In this part of the BMAT, they're testing two different types of thinking. Firstly, your problem solving. This is reasoning with numerical data. In this, you must find or create a solution. Secondly, critical thinking. This is reasoning with everyday written language. In this, you'll consider arguments put forward to promote or defend a particular point of view. You must understand the arguments put forward by others and assess whether these arguments establish their claims. Section 1 of the BMAT is an hour, and in that hour you have to answer 32 multiple choice questions. 16 of these will be of the problem solving kind and the remaining 16 are critical thinking. It is multiple choice out of 5, with one of the 5 options being the correct answer. And the questions are presented roughly in order of difficulty. There is no negative marking, so definitely try to answer all of the questions in the time allocated. There is no calculator or dictionary allowed for this section or any section of the BMAT, and for each question you will be presented with a stimulus. For the problem solving questions, this stimulus might come in the form of a graph, some data, a table, such as a railway timetable. And for the critical thinking questions, your stimulus will be a passage of text. There are 3 kinds of problem solving questions in section 1 of the BMAT. Relevant selection. There is an example of one of these types of question on the screen now for you to pause and have a go at. The answer is D. There's an explanation on the screen now for you to look at if you didn't get it. Finding procedures. There is an example of one of these types of question on the screen now for you to pause and have a go at. The answer is D. There's an explanation on the screen now for you to look at if you didn't get it. And identifying similarity. There is an example of one of these types of question on the screen now for you to pause and have a go at. The answer is E. If you didn't get it, there's an explanation on the screen now for you to have a look at. There may, however, be crossover between these 3 types within a single question. On the Cambridge admissions website, you will find a list of required and assumed knowledge. I will briefly go through these now. Basic number concepts such as simple fraction, place value, for example, in 7,654, knowing that the 5 represents 50. Percentages, for example, 1% can also be thought of as 1 in every 100, or if 40% of a cake has been eaten, 60% must be remaining. Basic numerical operations. These include subtraction, addition, division, multiplication. Percentage operations, for example, if an item is £30 and then it's reduced at 10% off, how much will the customer now pay? Calculations in everyday context and calculating the mean. Quantities are also assumed, such as time, money, the calendar. I remember learning all of the days in every month for my BMAT exam because this is assumed knowledge and you may need it for some questions. And measures. There are specific conversions you need to know. These are 1 kilometre equals 1,000 metres, 1 metre equals 100 centimetres, 1 centimetre equals 10 millimetres, and 1 kilogram equals 1,000 grams. Space and spatial reasoning is also required. This would be working out the area of a shape, its perimeter, its volume. These would all be fairly simple shapes such as rectangles, squares, cubes, or spheres. So make sure you can calculate these easily. You will also need to know how to extract data from tables and graphs. For the critical thinking questions, there are a few concepts that are helpful to get your head around. In an argument, reasons are put forward as grounds for a conclusion. Good arguments have conclusions that follow from the reasons. Therefore, if you accept the reasons, you accept the conclusion. In the BMAT, you must accept all reasons as being true. There is an example on the screen here. Jill promised she would attend the meeting or send a substitute. We know she can't attend the meeting, so we are expecting a substitute. Here we can break it down into its components. The reasons: Jill promised she would attend the meeting or send a substitute. We know she can't attend the meeting. And the conclusion: so we are expecting a substitute. It's helpful to look out for certain phrases when finding the conclusion in a passage of text. These include so, thus, therefore, it follows that. However, bear in mind that conclusions do not always follow the reasons. We could change this passage of text so that the conclusion is at the start. We know Jill cannot attend the meeting. We are expecting a substitute. She promised she would attend the meeting or send a substitute. Or, we are expecting a substitute for Jill. We know she cannot attend the meeting and she promised she would attend or send a substitute. The conclusion is still, we are expecting a substitute, as this is the statement following on from and supported by the rest of the text. In some passages, the arguments may omit a crucial stage in the reasoning in order for the conclusion to be drawn. In these passages, in order to accept the conclusion, we must make an assumption. There may be questions asking, what are we assuming in this passage of text? For example, he is in trouble, the lion is right behind him. For this, we're assuming lions are dangerous in order to reach the conclusion that he is in trouble. So, there are several skills needed for the critical thinking section. These include identifying the main conclusion, drawing a conclusion, identifying an assumption, assessing the impact of additional evidence, detecting reasoning errors, matching arguments, and applying principles. Top tips for this section would be: read the text carefully at the start. Next, read the question carefully, read through the options, then read through the text again, considering every option, and try to be critical about your answer. On your initial reading of the text, look out for those three key features: arguments, reasons, and conclusions. For conclusions, look out for those key phrases: so, therefore, thus, it follows that. And try not to use any previous knowledge about the topic in your answer. Only assume that that passage of text is true and all the information presented as reasons in a particular passage is true for that topic. There are several different styles of question for the critical thinking section. The first is identifying a main conclusion. You have to judge which one of the statements best expresses the main conclusion of the argument. Read the passage carefully, highlight any key phrases that would lead to a conclusion, and remember that you're looking for the state that follows on from or is supported by the reasons in the text. Here is an example on the screen now for you to have a go at. The answer is A. If you didn't get it, there is an explanation on the screen now. Next, drawing a conclusion. For this type of question, you want to consider each statement in isolation, asking yourself whether the information presented in the passage supports that particular statement or not. There is no conclusion in this type of passage, therefore you must consider all of the reasons given. Here is an example question for you to pause and have a go at. The answer is A. If you didn't get this, there's an explanation on the screen now. The third type is identifying an assumption. In this, you'll be given a passage of text in which a critical statement is omitted in order for the conclusion to be drawn. In this question, you must read the passage carefully and think critically about the conclusion made and which reason has been omitted that is required for this conclusion to follow. Here is an example for you to have a go at. The answer is E. If you didn't get it, there is an explanation on the screen now. The next type is assessing the impact of additional evidence. In this, you're given a passage of text, it will have the reasons and the conclusion. You're then given 5 statements and asked, for example, which statement weakens the argument the most, which statement strengthens the argument the most. You need to consider each one in isolation and see its impact upon the reasoning in the text. Here is an example for you to have a go at. Pause now. The answer is B. If you didn't get it, please go through the explanation on the screen now. The next type of question is detecting reasoning errors. Read the text carefully in this type of question, identify the conclusion, and identify the reasons that support this conclusion. What is the main point that the argument is trying to establish? And how does it establish this point? You want to identify the flaw in the argument. So in order to do this, you need to work out why the conclusion does not follow from the argument. Here is an example on the screen now. The answer is C. If you didn't get this, please go through the explanation on the screen now. The next type of question is matching argument. When reading through the text for this type of question, look for the similarity in the structure or pattern of the argument. Here you're looking for the similarity between the arguments, not the similarity where 2 arguments are about the same topic. Here is an example for you to have a go at. The answer is C. If you didn't get this, please have a look at the explanation on the screen now. The final example is applying principles. You'll need to read the text and understand the argument by finding the reasons and the conclusion in the passage. You then need to identify the principle the argument relies on to reach its conclusion. This will be a general recommendation applied to just one case in the passage, but could be applied to other cases. For this, consider each possible answer to see whether it follows from the principle. Here is an example for you to have a go at. The correct answer is E. If you didn't get it, have a look at the explanation now. So some general tips just to conclude. I would say these questions are practice. You can find a lot of past papers on the Cambridge admissions website. The more questions you see, the more you'll get used to the style of question and what to look out for. For the problem-solving questions, work on your mental maths. Make sure you look out for distractors and focus on data that you actually need to solve the question. And practice reading graphs and tables. For the critical thinking section, read the text carefully, look out for the key features, the conclusion, the reasons and the conclusion. To look for the conclusion, look out for those key phrases, so, therefore, thus, it follows that. Remember that the reasons and the conclusion can come in any order, and test each of the answers in turn. This concludes my video today. I really hope these tips were helpful. If they were, hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe for more videos like this. Have a look at our website, generationmedics.org.uk, for more support and advice. They are a really great organisation and they have tons of resources. If you're already a member, jump into conversation. If not, why not join the forum today? Good luck as you prepare for the BMAT, and see you again soon. Bye!